Welcome again to our 2010 Middle East adventure. DVD Disc 1 covered the first part of our journey in Turkey. DVD Disc 2 covered the first part of our trip into Syria, where we crossed from Turkey into Syria by land. In this DVD, we travelled from the Euphrates River across the desert, visiting Qasr al-Hir al-Sharqi in Palmyra, and then from Palmyra we go to Damascus, Jordan, then over to Lebanon, and then up to Aleppo. And then from Aleppo we make our way back into Turkey. And now a few words from the perpetrator of this event. So how did you find the food in Syria?
It's very repetitive. There's not a lot of variety. It's vegetarian, but only a limited number of vegetables are available, and a little bit of chicken or fish occasionally. So the breakfast was very repetitive, just cheese, unleavened bread and jam, and occasionally some tomato, but yeah, not a lot of variety.
Yes, well, I can vouch for the breakfast, and I can vouch for the bread. It tastes and feels like cardboard, but it's far less toxic. Okay, so how about the climate?
It's extremely hot, like hotter than anywhere else we've been before. 50 to over 50 in the desert, I would think. It's extremely hot. You're sweating all the time, so your clothes stuck to you all the time. Day and night, no difference, hot.
Well, the other thing that we noticed that we never seem to see a lot of women around. Now, what was the story behind that?
Mainly because you aren't allowed to work with men, so you didn't see women and men working together. So in the hotels, there's only men and boys doing all the work. When you went out to the markets, you saw women occasionally in the street, but it's predominantly a male society. You didn't see a lot of women at all.
And what about the shopkeepers, especially when it came to women's clothing?
Well, again, because they can't work together, the sexes can't work together, you only had men in the shop. So whether you were going to buy lingerie or women's clothing, you had to deal with a male. And when we came home to New Zealand, we saw a piece in the news where a Saudi Arabian woman had launched a protest to try and change that law because it affected Arab women as well.
Right. And then there were some of the health issues that arose while we were away.
Yes, almost the moment I got into Syria, that very day I got diarrhoea. You also had this cough that you developed because the air conditioning units, I don't think, had been cleaned or the filters changed, and so you got this terrible cough. So you didn't feel terribly well all the time. And the diarrhoea we discovered at Damascus is a particular strain of diarrhoea that needs an antibiotic to fix it. So mine lasted 3 weeks.
Yeah, and mine lasted 3 weeks as well. Now the other final question we have is it dangerous to travel in Syria?
It wasn't while we were there. I didn't feel unsafe at all. I felt it was quite safe, but within 6 months of us coming home, the whole situation had changed and erupted, and I think it's just symptomatic of travelling in the Middle East anywhere. If you want to go, you've got to be conscious of the fact that things change very quickly, and so you've got to have a plan to get out as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and so, we hear that these places are full of terrorists, but on the other hand you say that the people are wonderful and welcoming. What explains that anomaly?
I think there's some very angry people there, angry at how they've been treated in the past, and there's certainly a lack of freedom because they have very harsh governments. But the people in general are extremely lovely, more hospitable than I've experienced anywhere else in the world, would give you everything. In fact, that might contribute to the diarrhoea, I suspect, because they're constantly giving you food, and to make sure you eat properly in their mind, they're putting their spoon in their mouth and then on your food to help you eat, and their hands are constantly going into your food. They also have the problem of diarrhoea there as well for themselves. But it's just so hospitable, it's difficult to say, can you please keep your hands out of my food?
Right. Very good. Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Chong, for your comments. We'll continue our adventure on DVD now. All that having been said, I'd like to invite you now to sit back, relax, grab your favourite drink and continue on with our adventure with us.
Met you by surprise. I didn't realize that my life would change forever. Saw you standing there, I didn't know I'd care. There is something special in the air. Dreams are my reality, the only kind of real fantasy. Illusions are a common thing. I try to live in dreams. It seems as if it's meant to be. Dreams are my...
As we headed to Qasr al-Khair al-Sharqi, we filmed a bus overtaking a truck. That's not so unusual, but what is the norm is that bus and trucks run without engine covers. With covers, the engine would overheat in the desert temperatures of 50 degrees.
Although it's only fantasy.
Driving through the rocky moonlight landscape, the majestic palace walls of Qasr al-Khair al-Sharqi suddenly appears out of nowhere. One of the most isolated and startling monuments to the Umayyad Muslim rule in 800 AD, the palace held a strategic position commanding desert routes into Mesopotamia.
Of loving, tell me that it's true. Show me what to do. I feel something special about you. Dreams are my reality.
I never dreamt that one day that I'd come here, least of all that it would be my reality. There's that saying that dreams are free. Well, that would be nice. This one was $25,000.
See how the real thing can be. Dreams are my reality. A wondrous world where I like to be. I dream of holding you all night and holding.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I've always wanted to say that.
That's because you're arty.
The palace was built by Umayyad Caliph Hisham Abd al-Malik around about 730 AD, but was abandoned about 700 years later. Water for the palace came from an underground spring about 30 kilometres away. The palace contains remnants of rooms, arches and columns which are believed to be parts of a huge royal complex. Some of the decorated parts have been moved to the National Museum of Damascus, while the gate has been reconstructed in the Deir Zor Museum. Qasr al-Khair al-Sharqi is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Holding you all night and holding you seems right. Perhaps that's my reality. Surprise, I didn't realize that my life would change forever.
Just before coming back onto the main road, We took a small diversion through the village where Queen Zenobia was born. Zenobia was Queen of Palmyra in 267 AD and was famous in history for revolting against the Roman Empire. She lost. Arab writings describe her as being more beautiful than Cleopatra, probably more beautiful than Elizabeth Taylor as well. But unlike Elizabeth Taylor, Zenobia was known for her extreme chastity and was fluent in Greek, Aramaic, Egyptian, Arabic and Latin. An hour later, the Palmyra citadel was in sight and we cruised into town just in time for lunch.